Hi Vernon, congratulations on 20 years of Sarani Sembang. This is indeed a milestone, and this success is a reflection of your passion, dedication, creativity, and tenacity. Happy to call you my friend, and let me try in the mother tongue of my grandmother to wish you well. Eu reza Deus logo benzecubos todo dia. God bless and lots of love.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to, a new episode, a new season of Sarani Sembang, brought to you all the way from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I'm Vernon Adrian Emong, your host for Sarani Sembang. I'm the founder of the website from 20 years ago, 21 years ago to be exact. I'm finally here on on StreamYard, coming to you to the Facebook page as well as YouTube, and also on Clubhouse. We are on Clubhouse, where we are simulcasting. We are actually attempting a very interesting simultaneous webcast over Clubhouse and over YouTube, Facebook. Okay, so that's me. And I'm really, really very happy to have with me a special guest who is right now in London. Okay, and this is Jacob Stewart-Bedford. Hi, Jacob. How are you?
Hi, Glenn. Thanks for having me in today.
Wonderful that you could join me. I actually invited Jacob to join us or to join me, like 4 hours ago or something?
I mean, yeah, you were like, a couple of days ago, you're like, let's have a chat sometime. I'm like, yeah, sure, let's pick a date and just do something. And a couple of hours ago, you're like, now, good?
Yeah. And he didn't, and he said to me, I don't know what I'm getting into, but okay. And I said, yes, I don't know what I'm getting into either. So let's just figure out how we're gonna get this going. And then when he didn't kind of like back out of that adventure,
Did you expect me to run?
Well, certain people say, I really want to know what we're gonna do, but you said whatever, and I went, okay, I've got him. So now I'm gonna do something that has been on my mind for the longest time, and that was to, number one, revive Sarani Sembang, the webcast, which began last year during the height of the lockdown, and I was bored at home, and I did 14 weeks of episodes, one episode every week, right? And it was fun, okay? But after 14 weeks, I was so exhausted that it took me a whole year to recover. So this actual webcast actually comes about a little bit more than a year since I started, okay? And so thanks, Jacob, because you've given me the opportunity to revive Sarani Sembang, number one.
Happy to.
Okay. Yeah. Number two, you've given me the opportunity to try out a concept of a new program idea that I have, right? Called the OK Boomer Hour. Okay. And number three, Jacob, you don't know how much, how valuable this is. You've given me the opportunity to do a simulcast on Clubhouse as well as YouTube. And we are live right now. We've got 3 people on Clubhouse and we've got 2 people on YouTube. I don't know who they are, but 2 people are watching us. Okay. One of them might be Nabila. I don't know who the other person is because Nabila is both on Clubhouse and on YouTube. Okay. So Jacob, give us an idea of your background and maybe how we are connected. Because I've spoken enough.
I was going to say how we're connected is probably, I would say, the easiest way, except you probably know more cleanly than I do, because I'm always like, oh, you're my mum's cousin. But are you my mum's cousin's cousin? Either way.
That's better. Yeah. We're not blood related, but your mother is my first cousin's first cousin, right? Yeah. So that which is
really clean and easy to understand.
Yeah. So we are so you are my cousin's cousin once removed because you're one generation down from me.
Yep.
Your mother Jackie is my generation. Yep. And she's related to my first cousin, Cinnamon Area, who is now in Australia, where you are originally from, right?
Yeah. I'm
so
from
tell
Perth,
us more
Australia,
about yourself.
originally.
Yeah.
I was born in Freo. Yeah, born in Freo, Western Australia, which is right around Perth on the west coast. I lived there for most of my life for the first 16 years of my life. And then I moved to the States in 2009 for my dad's job. I lived in the States, did my undergraduate degree there until I moved over here for my master's back in 2017. So I studied musical theater as my main, and I also actually did a double major in communications with a focus in mass media and journalism. So that was my undergrad, and then I did a master's in musical theater up in Scotland, and I've been here ever since.
Fantastic. So you did musical theater in your first degree, and then continued your master's in London.
Yeah, so I did my master's in Scotland at the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland.
Okay, wonderful. Because that is actually a very well-known performing arts academy. Is that correct?
Yeah. David Tennant went there. There's a little bit of a scandal going on right now, but that's because of there's a show, I don't know if you've seen it, called The Beautiful Game, which was I think a Netflix series all about the creation of football. And one of the guys in that, he went to RCS, and he's currently come under a bit of fire for domestic violence things. But other than that, it is a great school. And
yes. I've got two very good friends who live in Singapore, Ivan Heng and Neo Swee Lin, who both went. You've heard of them?
I mean, I know Eugene Huang. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know Eugene, but Ivan and Swee Lin are very close friends. In fact, I stay with them when I go to Singapore. And Ivan's started perhaps one of the most successful theater companies in Singapore called Wild Rice, doing really well. So the both of them I've known for centuries. A long time. So and when I lived in Singapore, we hung out a lot together. This was in the late 80s. Yeah. So there you go, when you were still a baby. Okay. So now you're in London, and you arrived in London.
So I moved down to London January 2019. So I had a year before the pandemic hit us, a year to kind of get my feet wet in London. Very quiet. I had some visa things that I needed to sort out, but otherwise, I got to experience the city for what it was before everything went off the rails.
Okay. Yep. And how has it been? Is London it's not in lockdown right now, right? A lot of things are kind of like opening up.
Most things we're on the last phase, I believe. So we were supposed to exit. We were supposed to return to normality on the 21st of June, but because there's been the Delta variant and things like that, they've pushed it back a month. So it looks like July 19th is when everything is going to return to normal. So normal. I don't know what it honestly looks like in the rest of the world. Unfortunately, it's very COVID. If there's one thing, all the different lockdowns have created a very bubbling effect in terms of just understanding what is going on. So I know for us, we've had rules of 6 indoors. So you can do parties with 6 inside venues, as long as you're in the same household, or outside, distancing and things like that. Masks are compulsory inside, but not on the street, on public transport. I think.
Have theaters opened?
So they have, with restricted capacity.
Okay, 1/3 or half?
As long as they can do the distancing, it's up to them.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Because
if you come together, then you're sitting together, but there has to be 2 seats in between the next group of people or something,
exactly.
Right?
Like you need the bubbles. Like I went to see a friend of mine in Heathers last week, and so that was supposed to open right after the restrictions, released. Okay. So they sold all the tickets and everything. It was supposed to be booked. And then of course they pushed it off. So now they were like, okay, we need to move everybody's tickets and seat them into bubbles. Yeah. And it was really weird seeing. There were maybe 6 people in my row in the theater. So there was a lot of dead space, and I cannot imagine what it's going to be like come the end of restrictions, because theaters have been open, but it's something, but it's not fully enough to keep everything running.
Yes. There are a lot of losses being made, and people are really tightening their belts, and businesses are folding. It's really sad.
They're funding sports. so much like the Euros are going on right now, and there's so much money being funneled into that, and in terms of accessibility and making sure it meets the requirements. But then there's nothing being done for the arts. Like I know it's especially frustrating in Glasgow. There was this thing on the Glasgow Green where they basically spaced the whole green out just so people could watch the football. And it's like you could do outdoor performances, you can do all that stuff, but no, performances are closed, but we can watch the sport.
It's weird that people have decided to actually, or rather governments and people in authority are not understanding that the arts might even be more valuable than sports. I guess sports in a sense has got wider appeal, but the arts I think has got a deeper significance that should not be at the expense of what's going on. Okay, Jacob. So just before I ask you the next question, I'm just going to do a reset as people are just joining us now. Okay, so here we are on Sarani Sembang in a new segment called the OK Boomer Hour. And what happened was I had this idea to do an intergenerational conversation, and I connected with Jacob, who, by the way, is Sarani because his mother is Sarani. Okay, and who is actually my cousin's cousin once removed. So his mother is my first cousin's cousin. On the other side of her family, they are first cousins. So Jacob's mother is my first cousin's cousin once removed. And he is now in London, where he is a musical theater practitioner. And I'm so glad that you agreed to do this with me basically on the spur of the moment. So thank you very much.
I'm really happy to. Honestly, I'll jump at anything.
And just to let
you were going to say, sorry.
I was just going to say that for people who are coming into this, we are doing a simulcast. We're coming in on Clubhouse as well as actually streaming through Facebook and YouTube. And if you want to go to the YouTube video for those who are on Clubhouse, all you need to do is just go to bit.ly/ss-okboomer. That's what you need to do to actually watch the very handsome Jacob Stewart-Bedford and the very old and decrepit Uncle Vernon here.
I did not prep for Facebook today.
All good. Okay. Okay. So now, we are doing this show called the OK Boomer Hour, right? I want to ask you one thing that you would like to know about boomers. One thing that you find quite baffling. What is that one thing that perhaps maybe I can give an insight to you so that it won't baffle you any longer?
Oh, that's a tough one because I would never have thought of you as a boomer. Like I'm just putting that out there. And B, there are so many like different categories. Like one of the things that really irritates me, and I don't even know if I'd say it's boomer specifically, is when there's this whole I don't want to say perception, but like belief that because I went through this stress to get this to get what I needed, you also need to go through the same thing. Like it doesn't matter like you're in a different setting, like the world is different now. You also need to understand that struggle that we went through so you can also be as successful as we are, because that's the only way you're gonna get there.
Right. So there's this really patronizing, condescending kind of like approach to problems that a non-boomer would face, that a boomer would say, just suck it up and that kind of thing.
We had to do this.
Right. Okay. So now I've got to explain why we're like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, try.
I guess it's because we want to feel some heroics in our life that, we survived that. So maybe you can too, if you could be as strong as us, if you could be as smart as us. So we're actually challenging you, challenging the non-boomers to go, hey, you just suck it up.
You can too,
Yeah. So in a way, it's kind of like misdirected love, and concern and caring.
It's functional. It's so functional.
Okay, and so now it's my turn to ask you a question where you explain something that baffles me about how you respond to us boomers. Okay, and the question is this: when we say things, right, that young people don't understand, right? What usually is your very, very, very first thought in your head? Is the thought you don't get what the issue is about because you're old, or is the thought, what is what is that first thought that so ageism, is it the first impulse when you are confronted by a disruption from an older person?
Not at first glance. I think just maybe it's because of the communication stuff, but in like first glance, more it's like, okay, did I say something wrong? Is there something about this issue that they're just not thinking about? Or is it like only because like the internet is such a oh Lord, not a vacuum chamber, but it's such a melting pot for so many different ideas and backgrounds that we would not have encountered without it. That for someone who doesn't, isn't on it all the time, isn't on Reddit, isn't on Facebook, isn't on whatever, not that they're all important, but doesn't see those things, it's not the first thing that will come to mind. Like we'd be like, oh, I saw somebody, who like talking about like defunding Planned Parenthood and things like that. People are like, oh, it's only for abortions. It's like, no, because like they need it for like women's health and all these other issues. And like, it's not just about there were so many like other facets of the issue that we personally wouldn't encounter without it.
Right.
So that would be my first. That would be my first attempt.
Yep. Very good.
And then it would be, it's just a different time.
Okay. So actually, the first thought is that you zoom in on the issue before you consider the person who's asking the question. But it could actually very easily lead you to the second reaction, which is, oh, it's a different time, so that's the reason why.
They just don't think like that.
Okay. And how do you think it can be sorted that someone older than you, a boomer, might be able to be on the same page as you? What do we need to do? Pray tell. Give me some advice, young man.
I think the big thing for everyone is just patience.
Okay.
Like everyone has got their own things going on. Everyone's got their own background, but we've all got our own histories and experiences and stories. And it's like, this is why I feel this way. And just because you might think it's wrong, it doesn't invalidate that I think this. And like, maybe if we can come to understanding of why we both think like this, we can reach something better in the next step.
Okay.
But that's more that's more wide reaching than just we can do this.
I think it's important. And the only way to do that is to have conversations. To go beyond the first reaction. Like you talked about the second reaction that you had, right? Maybe that second reaction wouldn't have been arrived at if the first reaction that you had, was able to be nurtured and grown, and so I think, and this is the reason why I looked at Serani Sembang and morphed it into this new method of having conversations, because just to let people know who have just joined us, I started up Serani Sembang 20 plus years ago, to share, to help Serani families, which is basically multiracial, biracial, hybrids, Serani people in Malaysia, to actually discuss and find out about their backgrounds. Okay. And in the process, I realized that a lot of people actually want to find out about their backgrounds and want to have conversations about what they thought, their identity meant. And this brings me to the next part of our conversation, Jacob, identity. Because recently, right, you were featured or you were part of a movement in London, which I was, the East Asians in Britain group, EAB. Is it? Is that what it's called?
So There's a couple. So there's Asians in Britain, AIB was the umbrella. And of course, there's Voices ESEA as well, which is Voices East and Southeast Asian and all of that. And so it was really by the Stop Asian Hate campaign that like Henry Golding and Gemma Chan and all are part of. Yeah.
Right. And tell us what you did and when you volunteered for it or you selected or invited. How did it work?
No, I volunteered and then I was fortunate enough to, I guess, be selected because I have to imagine there were a lot of people who wanted to be a part of this. I was fortunate in that one of the people who was producing it was actually a music director in my course when we did our masters together. So I got in through knowing him. And honestly, I just turned up. Like it was so great to be a part of. I don't feel it's weird because it was such a it felt like such a monumental thing, but it also feels like I did nothing.
Yeah. Okay.
Like it's like just existing. And like on one hand it's like, yeah, that's great, that's enough. And the other hand it's like, oh man, I should have put more into it. But no, it's
monumental and and what you did was important to talk about.
That's really the thing.
How you felt about things. So just talking about how we feel about things can actually have ramifications beyond what we imagine. So I think conversations are important, and conversations of honesty and authenticity can actually reach out and touch people. So thank you for doing that. But just to give an insight into people who just joined us, Jacob is a musical theater practitioner who is of Serrani descent in that you were passed as white, right? So
white.
So you pass as white, but your mother is a Serrani woman, and that's why I've asked you to be on Serrani Sembang, right? What is her name?
I don't even know if
you're allowed to say it.
Am I? She won't call me like, how could you do that to me? I'm very private. Don't talk about me in public.
Okay. Talk about her background. Where's she from?
So mum's from Singapore originally.
But before that, do you know?
So, well, her parents, I know Granny and Gramps are from KL themselves. Malacca.
Yes and no. Yes, Malacca. So your ancestry has Portuguese, Malaccan, Serrani roots, right? That's your mother's side. Your dad's side?
Australian, and that's pretty much all I know.
Okay, so
very big Australian, probably like thinking back in the lines, if I can wax poetic, like like the Ulster Scots, so maybe like even from Ireland, like Scotland through Ireland,
right?
Religious persecution, all that down to Australia. We'll see. Right, okay, I don't know.
Okay. So the Stewart is, you could say, Scottish or Irish, right?
Stewart, at least Scottish.
And I said that you pass as white, and you admit that, right? Okay. Have you ever had any problems at all being multiracial, or pan-racial, or because you pass as white? When has it been a problem for you? If you can honestly and share with us.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to. The problems are different.
Okay.
Let's see. Like, it's more. Oh man. Okay, so in terms of identity really, I said this in the Asians in Britain shoot as well. Identity really didn't become a big question mark for me even until I moved to the States. And because growing up in Australia, I was surrounded by, we went to a mostly Asian parish, and there was a huge Asian population. I grew up with Gran and Gramps and my uncles and aunts, and I was raised by my mother's side of the family. So that was always just there. And then I moved to the States, and all of that was gone. And It was just my mum and my sister. And there was all this, like, what are you? Because they look at me and like, okay, but then you see me with my family, and it's like something like it doesn't. I don't understand.
Right. Other people don't understand.
No,
you're saying,
no. I mean, I understand.
Yeah.
Like,
Other people
just don't make.
Yeah. Okay. And then what happens?
And so it's. So where are you really from? Oh man, that mum definitely has that more than I do. She's like, I'm from Australia. It's like, great, okay. And you have that here as well. Like one of my friends from Glasgow. He's Indian descent, and it's like, where are you from? And I'm like 20 minutes that way.
Good answer.
Like, okay. But yeah, and I think it gets tough when they're like, oh, you're adopted. Like, there's no way that's your family, and like
Right,
becomes
Wow.
It's not a problem like persecution, but it's like there's still that seed where it's like, oh, you're not part of us, but you're not part of them either, even though they're like your blood, and it's like that. Yeah. And I think it's more grating in that I know what I identify as, but in terms of you stop sticking out because you don't want the questions to get asked. You don't want it to be talked about anymore. It's just like, okay, I'm white. I'll do my thing. Like my accent is messed up because I got bullied about it in high school, and they like made fun of it like it was a lisp. And of course, like I was doing musical theater, so they're like, okay, so you need to sound like an American, and you need this diction, you need that. And like before I know it, I sound like this, and I'm like, I don't even know what like it sounds like anymore to other people. But yeah, in terms of passing, it's feeling like I should say something and doing nothing because it's safer.
Yeah. Wow, that's powerful. Because it's safer. That's powerful. And for you to admit that, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, because I mean, like, I am Sarani and mixed race, but of course in the Malaysian environment, I pass as Malay or sometimes Chinese,
Yeah.
And so therefore I've been in situations where I can see and hear moments of discrimination happen on various other people. And and then so you're basically challenged to do something about it. And that whole statement that you make about it's safer to do nothing, I think is something that a lot of people who pass as something else are always challenged with. And but yeah, so thank you for sharing that. It's really interesting, really, really interesting. So what has it been? It would be very interesting in terms of, because like you've got like a lightish brown hair, right? And so you're as white passing as can be. Seriously, right? Yeah,
brown
that
hair,
too.
blue eyes. Yep.
Yeah. As white passing as can be. But then there's no. But then there is this idea, or you harbor, that in your blood is something that's not white. So what has it been for you in America with this whole situation in terms of the race divide between people of color and the so-called privileged whites? How have you negotiated that?
I honestly feel like it hasn't truly come to a head until, honestly, with the Black Lives Matter and coronavirus and all of that. It all just happened at the same time, and I wasn't in the States for that. I just got I got a side seat to all of it happening to people I cared about, and even people I didn't know, but like the Atlanta shootings. Yeah. I didn't know them personally, but like looking at them and looking at their stories, it just resonated. And it was like, their godma, their family members that just didn't go home. And it's like ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't.
Okay. Yeah, I know. It's still, you're still processing it, I'm sure. And I wish you, the ability to reconcile it in a ways that will make you extra powerful to be able to activate change of significance. And I'm sure you will. Yeah. Right. Yep.
I mean, that's why I had to do this shoot, because I was like, it's past the point, especially being in musical theater. Like, to a degree, you want to have something that sells you.
Yep.
But you also want to be able to fit in this box. Like you want them, you want to be unique, but not too unique. So it's always like an interesting box for me, because like with Hamilton and things like that, it's not about what you identify as personally. It's about what you look like.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Like they'll cast Filipino actors as Hamilton, and that's fantastic. But then it hits a point where it's like tokenism.
Yep. Like, when does tokenism kind of like come into play against the representation, right? So when does representation become tokenistic? It's an interesting challenge that a multicultural society has to face, and I think the only way to deal with it is to actually have the conversations so that when somebody suspects tokenism, they speak out, right? And
well, actually, it's not because of this, this, and this.
Yeah. Absolutely right. So then that lessens suspicion, right, between people and between parties, and I think that's so important. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up in terms of tokenism, because I have actually had to try to, what's the word for it, rationalize it in terms of what I do. For my, you could say, social activism, community work that I get involved in. When you are in a way, how should I say, reducing meritocracy for representation, when does it become tokenistic? It's an interesting conversation. Thank you. So now to the next question on the OK Boomer Hour. The next question is, ask me.
I've lost sound.
Ask me. Ask me a question of complete irrelevance, something really trivial, and then I will try to answer it, and we dive deep into this very trivial question.
What did you have for breakfast?
Okay, very good. Okay, what did I had for breakfast toast, and I wanted to have it with kaya. Do you remember what kaya is? Or have you ever heard of kaya? Okay, it's an egg jam.
Okay.
It's an egg jam, coconut egg jam. Have you ever had it before? A very sweet coconut egg jam.
I'm honestly not a big egg person.
But you love kaya. Everybody loves kaya because it's like, imagine a very a custard, which is usually made out of egg, right? Maxed out on sugar.
I'm picturing like a custard tart, but spread out over toast.
Yeah, spread out over toast. Correct. Ooh.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
Yeah, but when I opened my container of kaya, it had gone moldy. So I was really kind of like disappointed because it had been in the fridge for maybe too long, and so I ended up having marmalade on toast. So that's what I had for toast. I think it's important to have breakfast, and I try to. What is your go-to for breakfast?
Oh, I used to not eat breakfast. I don't know why. I was just like, don't have the time, just don't do it, have lunch and move on. Usually now I either have toast or cereal. Normally like honey nut cornflakes. I'm not gonna lie, I might go to. But today I had a crumpet.
Okay. Okay, can I ask you, do you remember the kind of Serrani or Asian breakfasts from your mother's side that you perhaps might have found either fascinating or yucky or interesting, or, surely when you went to Malacca to visit family as an Australian-born boy with Serrani ancestry, right? What were the Serrani foods or the Asian foods even that you looked at and went like, oh, that's odd?
I mean, dim sum for me is a staple. Like wherever I am, I have to find quality dim sum. And I guess that brings me to chicken feet. Never. I will never ever. Feet in general, just off the table for me. That and I think everyone in my family loves congee, except me.
Okay. And why is it difficult for you to enjoy congee?
It's the consistency for me, honestly. I'm not a big. I hated soup when I was a kid, and it's kind of porridge and meat. I don't like. Right. There's nothing wrong with it. I understand. I just don't love the consistency personally.
It's like me and durian. Have you ever had durian?
Yeah. It takes a lot to get into, but yeah.
Yeah, I can't deal with the consistency, the way it feels in your mouth. It's kind of like weird. It's like eating wet cotton. So I don't like it
with any senses. Like I have to block my nose to even put it in my mouth.
And the funny thing is, I don't mind the smell. I think it's because when you grow up in Asia, your olfactory glands are more resilient.
Yeah.
So I don't mind the smell, but I really don't like the consistency. So that's me and durian. Okay, so breakfast. What did I have for breakfast? I answered your question, and we had a conversation. So actually, okay, Boomer Hour is about having conversations about, even from the simplest of questions. Maybe we might find out about somebody's background and identity, even, and their heritage, and we come away from it, having learned something beyond just the two of us, which is an interesting. I don't know. I think it's worthwhile. I have another question, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, yeah. Okay. The question is the third question for the OK Boomer Hour is this: what kind of pop culture event, object, icon, personality that you from my generation, right? That you don't understand, that you find really weird. It could be an object, it could be a fashion thing, it could be a person, it could be a style of music, it could be anything at all. Yeah, okay. So I'll let you think about it for a while I reset the room for Clubhouse. So here we are on Sarani Sembang, right? Where we have authentic chit chats about identity and heritage. And I am here with Jacob Stewart-Bedford, who is located in London, and he is actually a musical theatre practitioner in London during lockdown, and he is actually my cousin's cousin first removed. So he has Sarani ancestry in that his mother is my first cousin's cousin. And so I decided to ask Jacob if he'd like to catch up, and he said yes. And I said, would you be game to do this with me? And he said yes. And I went, wow, I've got my first victim. So here he is with Sarani Sembang, launching it for the first time after a 10-month break or something. And we're trying out a format called the OK Boomer Hour, where an intergenerational conversation takes place. Okay, so have you got your answer? That one thing from my generation that baffles you, that really makes you think, and it's a popular culture thing. Yeah. One thing that you really cannot understand, that you look at us and go like, where did that come from?
I saw, there was a post I saw the other day on Old School Cool on Reddit, where it had high schoolers through the years paired with the music that they listened to from 1965 until today. And looking at that video, the thing that stuck out to me, I think, is perms.
Okay, men having perms.
Just perms in general. It was like, why was that the choice? Like, they weren't. Perms I don't understand how it looked. Like, it wasn't flattering.
Not to you. Not to you, it wasn't. Yeah, okay, very interesting. Okay, so your question to me is, what's with the perms, right? Why? From the 70s and the 60s. I guess it was 80s, 70s, and 60s. Why did people perm their hair? Well, I think people perm their hair even today, but it's less.
How should I say today? I feel.
Yes, you could say it's less prevalent. But I guess also because there's more variety of what you can do with your hair. Mm-hmm. So therefore it keeps people busy, and so they're not focusing on just perming. But yeah, I mean, like, wonderful question, because I remember following my mom to the beauty salon, and how she had straight hair. She had it was a Chinese genes, so she had dead straight hair, and so she would perm her hair, and there would be these big curlers and this big thing that they put over your head. The
giant hood
thing.
The
giant hood thing. Yeah, which still exists. I mean, sometimes you do see that happening, but you don't see it as prevalent as now, because before, every chair in a beauty salon had the hood over the chair, right? But now you don't see the hood, because the hood gets, stored away on rollers somewhere else, But yeah, okay, so yeah, I guess it was because that was the hairstyling industry was still in its infancy, and it was one of the limited things that women could do with their hair. And I think coloring had come in prevalent as now, right? So because like highlights and coloring the hair, and then also blow drying. I mean, that whole idea of blow drying. I guess it was because it didn't last very long for one.
Yeah.
And they wanted the curls to last longer. And
yeah, it's like you can't get a perm wet, right?
At the beginning, no, you can't get a blow dry wet. If you blow dry into curls and waves, if it gets wet, it's gone forever.
It's gone.
Yeah. Whereas with a perm, even if it gets wet, it bounces back into that curl. I think. Yeah. I don't know much about hairdressing, but great question. Great question. Yeah. So does that sound valid? That it was perhaps maybe one of the very limited options?
It sounds valid. I still wouldn't do it, but I understand.
Yeah, but if you wanted to look different, if you wanted to get
and of course when there are limited,
then that's what you do. So interesting. Yeah, it makes me think harder about stuff as well from my generation. So my question to you is this. Okay. What's with ripped jeans and stressed jackets and stuff like that? Why do people of your generation, right, look to wearing clothes that seem to belong on people less privileged or than you? What's with that?
I'm not sure I'm the best person for the ripped jeans question. You
don't wear ripped jeans?
No, I do not. I do have a ripped jean jacket, so I will concede on that.
Okay.
It came pre-ripped. I didn't rip it, so I guess I'm at fault for that one.
But you went and bought something that was.
I did. I bought. Yeah, I bought a black denim jacket that has like rips in it. It's always weird when you have to pay more for the rips. Like when you've got perfectly fine jeans and then you've got the ripped ones and they're like at least $30 more. You're like, that's ridiculous. Like I understand, especially if you're going for a certain look. Like I don't agree buying it ripped. I did it once and I don't otherwise. But like if they're perfectly usable clothes, on one hand, don't waste it. Just wear the clothes, unless it's of course
until they rip.
And even once they rip, unless it's an inconvenient place or anything like that, or you need to wear them to look professional. Sure, and I understand it's like a look thing. Like you want to look a little edgy, like it goes with the outfit. I guess a little bit like you don't care.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I'm just thinking about the denim jacket I've got, and I'm like, yeah, it looks kind of cool.
But why is it cool? What is the cool behind it that you don't care? That he wants to.
It's black. So what's it called? So fashion speaking, it gives me a nicer line. It's slimming. Okay. It's got a hood, so it protects me from the rain. Also, because it's got that faded style. I didn't buy it for the rips. But it's got the faded style, so it pairs with more things.
Okay, you didn't buy it. No, hang on. I don't believe
I didn't buy it for the rips. It just has rips in it.
Yeah, but why did you feel the rips were okay? You must have wanted
because
the
I
rips
didn't think they detracted from the jacket.
That's interesting.
What?
So your aesthetic accommodated the rips.
Yes.
So how did your aesthetic accommodate the rips?
On one hand, I wear it under other jackets, so it's thin enough that I can layer.
Okay. Okay. So you can hide the rips.
Yes. Yes. On one hand, I can hide the rips. Also, in terms of staying warm, like it's a nice jacket because it's not too hot, and if it does get too hot, the rips have a nice little breeze going through them.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Interesting. I mean. Yeah, so this is what the OK Boomer Hour is all about, where we share kind of like perceptions of each other.
It's a fashion choice.
Okay, right? Yep. For you, it's a fashion choice, but why? Where? I mean, like perming the hair is a fashion choice.
Yeah, and you said it's because
it's
like you wanted to express your individuality when there were limited ways to do it.
Oh, to follow the hordes, you to express your.
Well, I guess in a way, like in a way, it's almost like counter that, because you don't want to be part of the hordes who wear normal clothes to a degree. You know what I mean? You want to be you want to like. And I don't want to get, I don't want to psychoanalyze and be like, it's because we think that we might be damaged, and having our clothes like that is no.
Interesting.
It's just, your own way of expressing.
Yeah. So somebody comes up with an idea to express, an idea, comes up with something to express an idea. And if you like the idea, then you buy into it by getting that same thing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. I mean, like, I'm sure I've done that in my lifetime. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm fine with the jacket because the rest of my clothes aren't ripped. Like I don't buy ripped clothes. One ripped jacket is like, okay, it's kind of like a statement piece. You know what I mean? Like I'm not just wearing I'm just not just wearing clothes I found in a bag on the street.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
I do not understand the whole ripped jeans.
You don't
like ripping. I don't understand. I don't understand buying pre-ripped jeans. No.
Okay. Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. So when a friend turns up, turns up with ripped jeans, branded ripped jeans, what is your take? What are you thinking?
How much did they cost?
Okay.
Like, have you ever, what's it called? There's that lyric in Thrift Shop where he's like, it's just a t-shirt, but it's $50 for just a t-shirt. And like, that's how they get you. So it's, it's like $80 for a $50 pair of jeans that they put $30 rips in. It's
right.
Like,
yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, well, that's the basis of the OK Boomer Hour, where we have how shall I say, we have these random conversations based on the three formats. One thing that you don't understand about my generation, which was the number one question. And the number two question was the really silly, trivial little thing. And the third question was one particular cultural aspect from the other generation that you'd really like an explanation for. So what do you think? Do you think it's got legs? Do you think it can
that
run
jeans one is
on
going to keep me up all night? Like, why? Yeah, no, I think it's a clean concept.
But the problem is that it might keep, the same issues might keep coming up.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So I need to figure out a way on how the same issues won't crop up. Or add another section where it's even, it'll avoid that kind of thing. So yeah. So if you want to,
yeah, I was going to say, because of course all your questions you control, and the trivial one is fairly, because even if the trivial one gets repeated, it's still a different person.
Correct.
That you're talking to, and the conversation is different. So to a degree, and I guess that follows with all the other questions, the conversation is going to be different, even if it's the same inherent question.
Correct. Yeah.
And
if the two people are different, then the answers would be different.
Yeah. Of course.
So therefore, the best way to approach this is to have different people each time. Right? Different pairs each time.
Yeah.
So okay, I get it. Yeah, interesting. Okay, we are coming up to 49 minutes of recording, and it's called an hour. So we have about 11 minutes to go. So what I want to do in the next 11 minutes is to ask you this question. You said that you'd never been on. You've been on Clubhouse, but you hadn't participated, or you had the app, but you never.
I've had the app, but I've never really used it. Like I follow groups that I was interested in, but I've never actually gone to a session even.
Okay, and because we are on Clubhouse as well as streaming online through YouTube and Facebook, and I love Clubhouse, and I want everybody to get onto Clubhouse so that I can have conversations with them. I'm going to ask you, so far, why did you not find your way onto Clubhouse? Was it because, yep.
I mean, the first step, it's only on iPhone. It's only on Apple products, correct? Or is that?
Well, now Android users can come in. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay. I mean, I guess that's one thing.
Yeah.
I had to get an invite to get in, so I managed to get that from a Facebook group that I was
right. Okay.
watching as well.
Right.
And
yep.
It's, I don't know, it's nervousness, because it's like, hey, we're having this conversation, and
what are we
to me it
about?
feels to me it feels like you see a bunch of cool kids on the playground and they're all hanging out doing their own thing, and you're like, oh, that kind of interests me. But then you still have to walk up to them,
right?
And get into it. And it's just like, I do not have that experience, and I don't know what exactly they're going to talk about. Like, it looks cool from a distance.
Okay.
And I am nervous.
Okay. Fantastic. I think that's a good thing for me to remember, such that if I see new people, and I think I do that when I see new people come into my room on Clubhouse, I do invite them up on stage. If I have gone through their bio, because ever since Android people came in, there have been a lot of trolls and a lot of oh,
really?
unkind people. Because when it was only iPhone, the iPhone, the sign up for iPhone, you have to give your user ID. So the identity of all the users when it was only iPhone was authentic. But the moment the Android people came in, there were a lot of like dodgy characters, because they didn't need to put in.
Android doesn't have the same level of security that Apple.
Yeah. ID authentication. Yeah. And because of that, it created a weird kind of like new wave of experiences on Clubhouse. But now we know that if you don't have a proper face picture, if you don't have a proper bio, then there's a less likely chance of you being invited on stage. So you'll just have to sit it down in the audience until you change your profile. Yeah, get your act together. Yeah. On that note, we are coming up to 1 hour. I'm going to end the YouTube session, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on, right, with the Clubhouse session, and invite people on stage to talk. Okay, we've only got 2 listeners, but we haven't pinged people. Okay, so for you to experience the full-on Clubhouse experience, I'm going to end the YouTube Facebook session.
Okay, let's do it.
Because everybody's asleep and we've only got 1 person viewing us at the moment. But it'll become a video podcast there for other people to watch it. Okay, so
fantastic.
On that note, Jacob, I want to thank you for joining me on this crazy adventure of trying to do a simultaneous webcast on both Clubhouse and YouTube and Facebook. So thank you for that. Right?
Oh, thank you.
Anything you'd like to say? My pleasure.
Definitely. Thank you for getting me in. Hopefully, there were no glaring issues that popped out in the stream in terms of quality or anything. I think it all went off without a hitch in terms of the multicasting. So, congratulations on that.
Yeah, on our simulcast, multi-stream, whatever it was. Yeah, thank you so much. We're going to go out, right, with number 1. The Serani Sembang webcast montage. But before that, when I pull you and myself out, I'm going to put on Tan Sri Rebecca Santa Maria, the woman who appeared at the start of our webcast. And she is the highest ranking Serani woman ever in the history of the Serani community, in that she became the Secretary General of the Ministry of International Trade and Industry, and she is currently the executive director of APEC, which is the Asia Pacific Economic Caucus or Commission or something. Yep, which is a very leading organization. So I'm going to pull us out. Thank you so much, Jacob. Okay, but hang in there, because we will continue on Clubhouse and we will have a party there, if that's okay with you. Okay.
100%.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. I'm pulling you out. See you on Clubhouse. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Hi, Vernon. Congratulations on 20 years of Serani Sembang. This is indeed a milestone. And this success is a reflection of your passion, dedication, creativity, and tenacity. Happy to call you my friend. And let me try in the mother tongue of my grandmother to wish you well. Eureza Deus logo benze kubos todo dia. God bless and lots of love.